And what the hell's my stuff? I can't find anything ever. All right. Like this, you excited?
Exciting. Is that me?
That's us. We're streaming live on the internet. Need that to stop. All right. We're here. We're live. We're streaming live to the internet. I'm here with my good friend Russ Peterson from the world-famous startup Let's Join Pause. Here's a quick view into Let's Join Pause. Let's Join Pause is a fantastic, fantastic platform that allows busy dog owners to connect with part-time caregivers in their neighborhoods on a regular basis. If you've got a full-time job, if you need to be out on vacation, if you're ill, if you just want to meet some great people over the love of a dog, Let's Join Pause is a fantastic platform. I've asked Russ to come in today to talk with us a little bit. Russ and I are very good friends. We work together on a lot of different fun projects and different awesome stuff. But Russ, one of the things that's really kind of interesting about what Russ has going on is he's relatively new in the online startup space. So I've asked Russ to come in and share with us kind of his journey, what it's been like to start his own online startup, what he's done well in the past, what he's happy with, what he's not happy with. I really want to get some, because there's a lot of people out there that are talking about what happens online, what it takes to do a startup. Somebody contacted one of my guys at a networking event the other day and he said, I've got an idea for a clothing brand. I need help raising $500 million. So Russ has been through it all, and one of the reasons I wanted to invite Russ to come in and talk with us a little bit about Let's Join Pause is, one, I think it's a fantastic program, and two, I want to actually have him share his experience. I'm going to scoot a little closer, buddy. I promise.
Sure.
I promise I won't touch you. I'll totally touch you. So one of the things that I really wanted to start with, Russ, is have you sort of share with the world the vision behind Let's Join Pause. What was the concept? Why did you start it? Where did it come from? Just give us, kind of the elevator pitch on what Let's Join Pause is, the brainchild behind Let's Join Pause.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me today, Jeff. I appreciate it. It was an idea that kind of started. My wife is, an integral part of this business, as you know, and she and I happened to be watching, excuse me, I've got Vegas throat today.
I think everybody does today. It's been one of those weird days.
There's a lot of dust out there, but so bear with me. But we're dog people. We fostered a dog back in 2007 and had no idea we were going to absolutely fall in love with this dog, and we did. And during the course of taking care of the dog and having that kind of new relationship. Of course, we're empty nesters, both my wife and I, and we just absolutely fell in love with this dog. And Cheryl, in the meantime, started going to the animal shelter on Sunday mornings and walking dogs. And those poor souls, for the lack of a better term, are in jail.
Right.
Some of them aren't, going to come out anytime soon.
Right.
And
if
so. Yeah. So she absolutely fell in love with a lot of the dogs. So we ended up working with an organization called Home for Spot, which was a rescue group.
Mm-hmm.
And we started fostering dogs on a regular basis. In the course of 2 years, we brought in and managed to find forever homes for over a dozen dogs.
Good.
And that was fantastic and almost unheard of in this city because there was a recession and all kinds of bad things were happening here in Vegas, in the Vegas market at that time. Excuse me again. During the course of all that, again, we fell in love with these dogs, and of course, one day we were watching an episode of The Dog Whisperer, which is that Cesar Millan show.
Mm-hmm.
And the episode surrounded itself around a dog who was left home by himself, and the owner was going through all kinds of problems, economic problems. And excuse me, during the course of the training, a neighbor came over and said, I'd love to take care of your dog once in a while. My wife and I have just retired, and we don't have a lot to do, and we need the exercise, and you're a good guy, and I love dogs, but I don't want to own one.
Right.
We do some traveling and stuff like that, so I can't really have my own dog. So, Cesar agreed to, and so did the owner, come over and we'll set up a schedule and all that. So by sort of serendipity, my wife looked at me and said, there's a business idea in that. And so we started thinking about it, and that day, our business, Let's Join Paws, was born, at least conceptually, in our mind. And it took another year for us to kind of put all those ideas together and thinking about it and beating it up and doing all the what ifs in our minds and running all the scenarios and trying to figure out where all the money was going to come from. And it did literally take us a year before we put anything into action.
Okay.
So for all you young entrepreneurs out there who are thinking about going into a business with an idea, give yourself a little time. Otherwise, you're just going to bury yourself. So I would say that's the first step in terms of getting a business off the ground, is really try to think it through. Because believe me, after you think it through, you haven't.
So a couple of things that I really think are really incredibly powerful about your vision and your startup and what you have going on at that point is the fact that it started out with passion. There was passion for what you had to do. And I personally feel that's one of the most important things. For any company you're going to start, anything you're going to come up with on your own, you really have to have a passion for the issue you're solving. Now, you guys saw a problem and you found a way to solve it. And it's a great, great concept. But if you didn't care about dogs, if you were, you got to think, if you were just in it for the money, there's a whole lot easier ways to make money, right?
Absolutely.
Certainly in Vegas, you could probably start stripping or escort service, Russ. I mean, you're a tall guy.
Parking.
There's that too. So let's try and pause. The other thing that Russ touched on, which I'd seen time and time again now, I'm at least a year younger than Russ. So we're going to...
I just look old on TV.
When I get exposed to a lot of young startup individuals in this marketplace. When we're doing online marketing, we get people at all different phases. One of the things that Russ said that really resonated with what we kind of preach is, take your time. Nothing happens overnight. There's lightning strikes hardly ever anymore in the startup space. You really, really need to have a plan. You need to grind it out, and you need to understand that you're going to make some mistakes along the way. So my next question to Russ is, if you had to sort of pick, maybe the 3 or 5 things during the Let's Join Paws life cycle, and obviously it's not at the end of its life cycle as a technology startup, it's always continually growing and improving. What were some of the biggest pain points during the growth process that you can recall?
Great question. The first biggest pain point, I think, was to really define who we are and what we wanted to accomplish. And try to prioritize those accomplishments. Is it important for us, for example, to, be a savior for these dogs that are out in our community that are literally, being euthanized because of a supply and demand problem here? nobody's fault. It's just a fact of life. Was it a question of us wanting to make money? Was it a question of us following our passion? You know, we had to put all those different things in priority, and and that was a pain point for sure.
Sure.
The next pain point, I think, was to, once we sort of crystallized that idea, and as you know, that took a while. The next problem was to line up partners that have knowledge in business areas that we don't have knowledge, and people that we could rely on to get us where we need to be. That included a web developer. That included
marketing agency,
digital marketing, but and also traditional marketing.
Yep.
That involved lining up an attorney that understood what we were trying to accomplish.
CPAs,
of course, a CPA who understood we were trying to decide whether or not to go nonprofit, to, you know, keep with our limited liability company, or maybe doing a subchapter S, and what were the benefits and all that. To line up a person who just had some knowledge of the local market and could do some outside consulting. So we were trying to line up all these people and create a team, and of course some of the people were great, other people's not so good, so we had to go through that transitory period.
Yep.
Trying to figure out all that kind of stuff. So that was another, certainly a pain point, and we're always grappling with that.
Right.
To be honest with you.
And this was Let's Join Pause. I've got some background knowledge on Let's Join Pause. I've been around not since the very beginning, but for nearly a year I've been assisting with the growth and the development of Let's Join Pause as an online platform. A couple of things that I found in working with your campaign that I was really impressed with, and you said it as one of your biggest pain points, finding out who we are out of the gate, finding out who we are as quickly as possible. I would venture that we still don't know 100% who we are. And I think that's one of the really powerful things. If you ever have a passion for a startup business, one of the really powerful things is you can have a loose concept of who you are, really up until the point where someone's ready to throw $10 million, $20 million, $50 million at your company, and then you better be damn sure you've got stuff buttoned up. But up until that point, it can be a relatively fluid concept. One of the great things that Russ and Russ's wife Cheryl, who is fantastic, I wish she could be here today, but she has to make all the money so that Russ can drive around and be on webinars, webcasts.
And hang out with Jeff.
Hang out with me. One of the really great things and cool things about the concept is that it has evolved so much. And I wish and I'm going to try to pull up some of the older versions of what this looked like. Are you embarrassed by what this used to look like? If I could find an archived version of this site?
Nothing embarrasses me at all.
But finding out who you are and knowing who you are doesn't have to be 100% done right out of the gate. And I think that's a lot of things where a lot of people get frustrated and fail. And it's really a maturity level, I think. At 25 years old, when somebody comes in and starts up a brand new company, we're not used to, at that age, we're not used to iterations. We're not used to differentiators. A lot of people are just out of high school, just out of college, and they try to do an online startup, and they don't realize that stuff can change down the road. You have to be willing to move and fluctuate within the marketplace and see what other opportunities there are. And Russ has been fantastic about dealing with consultants in different areas, people who have spent time understanding the business space. Let's Join Pause is a hybrid. Remember this version of the site? Sorry, I found the early version of the website.
You should forward that to me. I was trying to explain how that looked to somebody the other day.
This is where we started. This actually might have been version 2 going through, but as you can see, we took the concept. The story is fantastic. The story has not changed. But what I was getting at is the site and the program has evolved so much from what it originally was. Even if you look at it, it's so much more compelling. The dog, by the way, is Jenny, and this is Russ and Cheryl's actual dog, and she's the mascot of the company. And I'm going to talk about some of the really cool things that Jenny has going on in her world at the same time. But this is where we were way back in the day, and it's come a long way. When you look at it, you kind of have to be happy with how much it's really evolved from where it was to where it is now.
It seems like it was 100 years ago, but it was actually yesterday.
It does seem like 100 years ago.
Yeah, if I could mention something too, Jeff, that I think it might be important for the viewers to understand, and that is that when you're going through something like this, it's a process, and it's constant change and constant tweaking, and one one idea leads to 5 more new ideas, and pardon me again. But what you have to understand, the one thing that stays constant and has to stay constant is your passion for the mission, for the cause. That's the thing that I think has sustained us through this whole thing, and I think
Right.
you made that point.
Right. Yeah, I'm in agreement. Passion at the end of the day is really what it all comes down to. Without passion, without the opportunity to care, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And if you look at all the great startups that are out there, the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Twitters and even Pinterest, everybody went into them without, how am I going to become a billionaire? A lot of these guys became billionaires, but the idea was, I want to do something different. I want to create something. And in our space, when I get to deal with these, let me hold all these up. These are all the dozen people that contacted us for marketing this week. I'll shake them around so you can't just see who they are in case our competitors are watching.
Maybe there's some customers in here for Let's Join Pause.
I think that absolutely. I think there should be, and I've got a couple to talk to you about as well. But we look at it when people come in, and if they don't have a passion for their business, regardless of what it is, if you're selling insurance, you should be passionate about it. If you're marketing a medical marijuana company, you should have a passion for it. If you're building your own startup, you have to be passionate about it. And Russ has some of the most passion I've ever seen from a startup. I've been personally involved as a let's call it, I hate to use the term venture capitalist because it's micro venture capitalist at best, but I've personally been involved in about 7 startups, and it took me 4 or 5 of them to realize it's not about the money. We have to have a passion. And our thinking is very much aligned, I think, in that space.
Absolutely.
But, so some of the other pain points, web development, getting people engaged, the process for getting people. I don't want you to give away your secret sauce, but I do want to brag about Let's Join Pause for just a second. Let's Join Pause is a Las Vegas startup, is in the space of, they call it pet sharing, they call it dog sharing, they call it social sharing for animals. And there's a couple big brands that are out there. Let's Join Pause has at least 400% more users signed up than those really big brands that are out there. And I always bring that up. I think that's a huge win. And the reason that it's done that is seeing Russ's story, having him tell the story, having him engage directly with people, and Cheryl, just knowing what their feeling is about the things that are going on. If you get a chance, I really want to ask people to go to letsjoinpause.com. Take a look at the site, come through, look at dogs, look at the community, look at who's online, what's going on, are there people in your community, and just explore it a little bit, because Let's Join Pause is going to be a big deal. You're going to somebody's going to find this broadcast in, I'm going to say, 18 months from now, and say, holy cow, look at that. That's the founder of Let's Join Pause, and some joker in a t-shirt talking about what it was way back when. And I truly feel so strongly about that, because again, I look at the marketplace, and it's my job to understand what's going on online in the marketplace, and we just see the opportunity being so great. The getting users process, getting people signed up, is half the battle. With a platform like this, you also have to make sure they're staying engaged. And we have some phenomenal things going on with Let's Join Pause. Let me see if I can find is there a link to the Jenny book on here?
I'm not sure if we put one on there yet.
Russ's wife Cheryl has written a fantastic book about
maybe on Facebook
about Jenny the magical dog, and Jenny is the inspiration. It's a fantastic story. And so at post-launch, we've had the opportunity to go through and help create a a Jenny Facebook page. And Jenny shares her adventures. Jenny shares what she's eating. All right, well, I'm going to pull this up and show this really quick. Facebook crashed this week. I don't know if anybody saw this. This was big news in the world of the internet. I don't think they've gotten the kinks out. It's been a long time since Facebook went down, but Facebook actually crashed, and we were forced to turn to Twitter to find information.
Oh, no.
On what the hell is going on with Facebook. I don't know why I can't find this right now, but there's a really incredible kids book that I'll link up in the description of this. I'll link up in the description of this video when it's all done, and let people find and see the Jenny the Magical Dog book. Here we go. I found it right here. Jenny the Magical Dog Next Door, available on Mascot Books. Just Google Jenny the Magical Dog Next Door. You can find the links to it. But again, we'll put it in this video. It's great. I've got kids. I've got 2 daughters. My 6-year-old will not put this book down. She carries it with her everywhere. Russ's wife, Cheryl, was kind enough to sign it for me. And my 6-year-old took it to school, and I said, do not lose that book. That is a first edition, signed by the author. If you screw this up, you don't get any ice cream for a month. So... she loves it.
Well, you're tough.
I'm a really hard father.
I don't think I can live without ice cream for a month.
I know how you feel. So, some of the other things that Russ touched on that I think are really important is the fact that, to be cliche, is it takes a village. It really takes people in different areas to be part of the process. You really can't do it all yourself. If you want to try, that's great, but as you'll find more and more and more, there are people who can take the busy work off your plate and can take things and let you focus on the core competency of your business. And Russ and Cheryl have done a fantastic job of doing that in the past. In fact, I went and had coffee with your business consultant yesterday, and we spent about an hour talking about how great you guys are.
Wow.
Collectively.
I thought my ears were burning yesterday. Jeff, if I could mention something.
Please.
If I can get it out. I'm sorry. I apologize for coughing and clearing my throat.
You're good. Want a piece of gum?
No, I'm good. One thing that people don't necessarily think of until it's too late, and we talk about this a lot now, and it's having a backup plan or having a plan. It's very, very important to find a caregiver if you have a dog, to be able to plan for those unannounced events that happen in life. If you get sick, or if you made arrangements for somebody to take care of your dog, like a brother-in-law, and then he finds out he can't do it. There's just 100 different scenarios that could separate you and your dog and cause a lot of problems. And,
right.
We have a tendency to plan in life, our own financial fate, our family fate, and where we're going, and what we're doing, and who's marrying who. But what happens if you get sick, and there's that unavoidable 2-month rehabilitation hospital stay?
Yeah.
Who takes care of the dog? Well, we've seen what happens in many, many cases. The dogs just get left, and they don't have a voice. So they can't complain, and they just fall behind and go by the wayside. And that's where they end up in the shelters, and we all know bad things happen there.
Right.
So, it's really having a plan, being proactive, and getting yourself, a viable caregiver that you vet and that can step in, not just for those little trips down to the beach that you want to get away from every once in a while, or maybe having to work overtime and having somebody watch your pets, but also for those unforeseen events that just happen to pop up when life gets in the way. Those are very, very important and life-changing events for you and your dog. And if you value your dog or any pet that you might have as being a member of your family, you owe it to plan. And create a plan. So that is kind of our push right now. And you'll be seeing more about that both in social media and also on the website.
So speaking of that, Let's Join Paws is it's a great startup. It's a great concept with a lot of really good momentum. Anybody who's interested in sort of following what's going on, visit letsjoinpaws.com, follow on Facebook, follow on Twitter, follow on Instagram, and check out all the things that are going on, because there's a lot to talk about, a lot of great stuff. Set up your Google News alerts, because this is going to be one of those startups that's going to be a success story. This is going to be one of those ones where you're going to read, oh, holy cow, they just got millions and millions of dollars. And then you're going to have to call Russ's assistant if you want to talk to her, because Russ is on his boat today with his 94 dogs that he's rescued.
But I will be taking calls. No. I'm kidding.
All right, so Russ and I also, let's, this is great. This is on your Facebook page. I had to share it because it is Friday right now.
That looked like me this morning.
I know. Kind of looks like you right now, minus the goatee.
Got a little shadow.
What would you say is on the agenda, again, without giving away your secret sauce? What is the next 3 to 6 months going to look like for Let's Join Paws? What are some of your goals? What are some of your objectives? What are some of the things that you think are going to be the best, coolest, neatest things happening in the next 3 to 6 months with Let's Join Paws?
Wow. Good question. I think we really, over the next 6 months, or 3 months, we're probably going to have another book that'll be close to being released.
Great.
And it'll be, in keeping with the series of where Jenny is, what's happening with Jenny spreading the gospel about Let's Join Paws.
Yep.
And connecting people and dogs and doing what she does best.
Good.
Creating that magic.
Good.
So she's going to be active, certainly. Cheryl and I are going to be doing a lot of public speaking.
Good.
We're going to be at the various events. We're going to hopefully expand Let's Join Paws' presence in other markets. Good. The fact that the way our platform works is our website is geocoded by zip code. So in theory, if it works here in Southern Nevada, which is where we're based, right, it'll work in Denver or Dallas or Boston. Yep. As long as people can connect. Yeah. So we're looking at maybe some franchise opportunities for some people in various metropolitan areas who have a passion for what we're doing, and hopefully we can transfer that passion and sort of amplify that passion to people that are interested. And for those people that are interested in picking up the mantle in those communities, we'll be working with them and so on. It's important to have, in our opinion, and I think Jeff agrees with me because we've talked about this from time to time, to have somebody in those communities who are passionate enough to be willing to go out and are connected enough in their own community to be able to go out and tell the story, right, and enlist interest on part of the community and use their connections that they had and developed over the years to kind of spread the word about Let's Join Paws and get everybody connected up. And all it takes is one user on one side of the equation to hook up with a user on another side of the equation, whether you're a caregiver or a dog lover, and to be able to put all that together and build, one or two people at a time and one or two dogs at a time in any community.
We're live broadcasting.
In any community. So that's kind of where we're at with that, and we're looking at the potential for that.
Good. Sorry, we just got interrupted. I hope you didn't miss the rest of Russ's statement there. The really important thing to keep in mind with Let's Join Paws is that backup plan. And as a place that does animal adoptions, pet adoptions, specifically dog adoptions, one of the really cool opportunities that we have with Let's Join Paws is for this to be the backup plan that a shelter, when they're adopting out dogs, a foundation, even foster parents that are now finding permanent homes for dogs, Let's Join Paws is a fantastic backup plan that you should be having your clients sign up for as they're taking these pets home. Because the backup plan is what it's all about. You imagine these poor animals, they're in a place, dog jail, right? They go home to a loving family. Something happens. It's out of our control. And this poor dog is now, potentially worse off than it was even before. So having a plan and having an opportunity to do something in a place for your dog to be taken care of during the day while you've got things going on is really, really pretty important. So I want to shift gears for a second.
Sure.
We're gonna move off the let's join pause thing. Russ also is we're gonna call you a strategic partner here at Post Launch. Russ has been working with me at Post Launch, doing a little bit of our business development, some introductions. He's felt strongly enough about the brand at Post Launch that he was kind enough to introduce me to some of his contacts in the world. And I wanted to take a minute, if it's okay with you, and potentially some of these contacts that we have, without giving some stuff away, there's a couple of things that we look at that I kind of want to really share in the process. And we look at organizations that have potentially been around for a long time. Their websites have maybe gotten stale. Their web presence is certainly lacking. But there's a few things that we kind of look at. And I'm just going to grab one random site from someone that we had the chance to take a look at. And kind of pull apart some of the things that they've got going on with their site and some of the things that Post Launch looks at in things we can do to help better a company. So this company, we got a business card from one of their team members at a networking event. They bumped into one of my team and said, hey, yeah, we would love to talk to you about some stuff. There's a couple of things going on this site that we're going to talk through that I really want to call out and show you a bit of our internal process on how we fix websites. So the website that you're looking at right now is a mortgage lending company. The first couple of things we look at are who we are, which is pretty clear. Our name's right here. What do we do? It does say mortgage lending, so we have to assume they're mortgage lending. Why you should do business with us. All right, there's a little call to action here. Call it no underwriting, no origination, no underwriting fees. And then how to do business with us. We look at this. There's a couple of things that they've got going on. One is there's a phone number up top that's easy to find and easy to use. There's a little form here for a quick quote with a little icon that pops up when I mouse over and on it. That's fun. But when we look at the site in general, it kind of feels a bit contrived and a bit of a failure. Here's a couple of reasons, and here's some things I want people to take to heart. Red, and this is gray, but red and black are traditionally reserved for sinful activities on websites. Things like tattoo parlors, escort services, the things that your mom told you not to do. Anytime you see those in black and red on a website, now it might be your company colors, and you don't have to abandon them entirely, but let's present them in a fashion that is going to really appeal to an audience. So we're looking at this site. The first thing your eyes are called attention to is this giant red area right here, which has nothing. Has nothing to do with the site. But it pulls your eyes off of the site. The second thing we look at is this giant red logo with an S in it, a Superman-looking S shield thing. Okay, that's great, but we can't do anything with that. The next big red thing is this apply now. Now, ironically, even though it's red, it stands out and it's in contrast to the rest of the site. So the apply now is clearly the most important thing they want to have on the site. This thing, this clock thing, is a distraction. If I'm taking the time to read and that's popping up, my eyes are constantly being pulled to that. Say, what the heck is this? When people understand that there's a form there, and I'd be very curious to know whether I can't even focus on talking. That thing keeps popping up. This clock that's there pulls your attention to it, but I don't know that I'd be very curious to know if it's actually turning into completed form fill-outs. The other thing that we're looking at is this rotating image right here of people buying homes. The images are grainy. I don't know if you guys can see that from here. And the images are families buying homes and happy about buying homes in their space. Good images. This one in particular is probably the most distracting because it's all buds. The images, the information that's here, Google does not like rotating images right now. And the reason being, if I'm landing on a website that's talking about mortgages and this image rotates to something that's selling supplements, Google has sent me to the wrong site. They have done a disservice to me, their customer. So let's take it a step further. Let's look at this site just a little bit more. It looks like they do a lot. It looks like there's a lot going on the site. This information here, this tiny little text right in the middle, might be some of the most important piece of information on the site. However, no one's going to read it because it's in such contrast with these big apply now button, get today's rates, refinance advisor, blah, blah, blah. Our eyes are pulled to images. So we're going to go ahead and look through, I'm just going to jump into one, a refinance advisor. Again, our free refinance advisor, blah, 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 blah. I'm stopped reading. I don't know if this is something I want. I don't know if this is something I'm engaged with. I would look at this site and say, why don't we have a video? Why don't we have a video of a person who knows what they're talking about what a refinance advisor is and what I should do here. I don't know if this is something that I don't know if this is something that I've got and need to do or whatnot, but let's keep going. Here's an Ask an Expert. I'm going to mention on this page that we have one sentence of actual content. Google is not going to pick this up as an actual content page. It's going to look at this and say there's not enough content. We need at least 250 words right now. If you watch this video at a later date, it might change. We need at least 250 words for a page to show up. The other thing is this page is called Ask an Expert. Now that's about as generic as it gets. Even if you look at the URL, Ask an Expert. Here's what I want you guys to try. We're gonna go into Google. We're gonna jump over to Jenny the Magic Dog and type in Ask an Expert. Okay, very generic search. I'm gonna click on Ask an Expert and see what comes up. Ask.com, allexperts.com, RefDesk, Science Buddies, Scientific American. This is what happens when I come in.
A lawyer will answer you now. That's a message you don't want to hear.
Right. You think you're in trouble. Well, we need to tell that lawyer joke in a minute. The one about being buried 8 feet deep.
I see. We don't want to offend all the lawyers, do we?
Is that possible?
I would imagine.
So, in looking at this site, the site has a lot of information. It has a lot of stuff going on, but it also needs to be in a way, presented in a way that is friendly and conducive, not only to the user, but to the search engines. So if somebody is trying to ask an expert, we need to find out what kind of expert they're looking for. This is another thing that I'm going to show you. This site is not mobile responsive. And what I did is I just grabbed the bottom corner of the site and shrunk it down to its smallest possible size. This is what it looks like on a tablet. This is what it looks like on a traditional monitor screen, and what it looks like on a widescreen monitor is, the full size of the site here. But when you grab the corner, the easiest way to do this is a pretty cool trick. Grab the corner of the site and try to shrink it down. If it changes and we end up having a horizontal scroll, oops, what did we do here? We lost it. I'm clicking around too much. If it ends up with a horizontal scroll, it's not mobile responsive. This means this site is not going to render well on people that are using cell phones to access the web, which we all tend to do from time to time, tablets, which we use to access the web, and then sort of these mid-sized phones that are often referred to as phablets, which kind of fall somewhere in the middle. Google penalizes for a site that's not responsive. So we want to make sure that the site that you're getting, the site that people are looking at, is actually indeed designed to work with every single device that's out there.
Not only that, this mortgage company is potentially losing a lot of business because particularly younger people access these sites with their mobile devices.
Right.
Rather than wait until they get home and use their desktop.
Yep.
So if they can't get on them, they can't read them, they can't do, they can't easily navigate through these things with their cell phones.
Right.
They're in trouble.
At the same time, I'm going to give this company a silver bullet that they should absolutely have is a live chat widget on this site. Anytime it's business hours, you've got a receptionist sitting there. Whoop, there's the clock. You've got a receptionist sitting there. Put a live chat widget on the site. I've now been on this site for something like 5 minutes and nobody has engaged me. Nobody's come out and said, how can we help you? What can we do for you? It's so simple, and there's free ones out there that are fantastic. There's all sorts of opportunities to really sort of capitalize on that stuff. These are a lot of the things that we look at. This site needs an overall sitemap, and what's easy to do is for us to go through and analyze where people are going on the site, what they're looking at, and we'll take your best competitors in the market and find that exact same data. Which pages are people engaging with to make sure that we're not providing information in the conversion and checkout process that's not really going to be relevant to the entire situation. Because when somebody comes through, the last thing we want them to do is have to fumble around and try to find out where to go for stuff. So this is what we look at on the conversion standpoint. From a traffic perspective, it doesn't make sense for us to send traffic to your site if people can't actually convert. By comparison, I'm going to pull your site back up again, Russ. I typed in the word Russ. I'm going to show you something really incredibly simple. Who we are. Let's join pause. What we do, matching busy dog owners with part-time caregivers. How to do business with us. You click the button that says begin. You don't have to go anywhere else in those 3 steps to be able to start doing business with Let's Join Pause. You can come down and research, sign up for the newsletter, learn our history, whatever we've got going on, whatever you're interested in. But at the end of the day, who we are, what we do, how to do business with us. Those are going to be the most important things that are laid out on your site. Over and above that, research is secondary, tertiary, even unimportant. We do have to have pages on a site so that we can have search engine optimized content, but the conversion path has to be super, super short and effective. Jumping back to this one, I would very much love the opportunity to help these guys kind of bring things up. Now, a company like this might come back and say, people don't search for mortgages online. People who are coming to this have been referred to us by their real estate agent. People who are coming to this have been referred by their friend, which is valid. The amount of search traffic for an online mortgage company really isn't that high. However, when somebody lands on this site, it does not convey a professional organization. This organization looks like it's amateur hour. It looks like it may even be out of business because this site is so dated that people don't actually want to engage with it. And then we're trying to service anything. I sort of have heard people say, if you try to call attention to everything, you end up calling attention to nothing. This site calls attention to a lot of stuff, and your eyes are freaking around so much that you're just going to pick up the phone.
And Jeff, by the way, we research a lot of websites.
Yes.
Do we not? And I've looked at some of the websites for mortgage companies from a competitive standpoint, and it's very interesting because as an industry, this is what a typical mortgage website looks like.
Yep.
So, not to pick on these guys.
Right.
Because you can go mortgage company after mortgage company after mortgage company. It's all formatted the same way. It's like the mortgage company's website sales guy went through the neighborhood and got everybody signed up like the aluminum siding company.
Right.
Because they all look like this. They all have the clock, and they all have the calculator.
Yep.
And they all have Ask the Expert, and everything is so condensed that it's very difficult to navigate through, and they're all like that.
Right. So, yeah. So to Superior Mortgage Lending, we're not picking on you. We just, we know. Unfortunately, your card happened to be at the top of my pile, so you got called on today. Your site is par for the course. There's opportunities for improvement. Regardless of who we're talking to, we're going to go through this entire process and take a look. And we take a look at what you're doing on social media, how frequently you're posting, how well your posts are engaged. The stuff that you're putting out there, the content you're writing, if you're blogging, if you're talking about different terms, are you doing it in a way that's interesting? And this is where post-launch really sort of stands out. We focus on what is interesting. If it's not interesting, we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste the people's time. We don't want to waste your customers' time or your time. But going through, make it interesting. Make it interesting. Include the people that are within your organization. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to buy a mortgage from a form online. I'm going to need to talk to someone who I feel comfortable with as an expert who understands the marketplace. If I'm in this space of real estate, if I'm a real estate agent, if I'm a real estate broker, I want to deal with a mortgage lender that's going to make my life as easy as possible. So these are some of the things that we're looking at in this space. I'm sort of done picking on them for a minute. I want to talk a little bit about social media advertising. This is something that a lot of people are coming and talking to me about on a regular basis these days. And what this is, what you look at with social media advertising, as my computer catches up here, we'll find something I can show you. In your feed, social media advertising on Facebook is one of, and we're finding it a lot, one of the most effective and least expensive ways to get people to engage with your content. Here's one right now. Sumo Me is showing an ad on my Facebook wall. This is a suggested post, which means these folks have sponsored this link. And I'm not sure why they've decided to sponsor it to me. I don't know enough. If you want viral growth, you need this tool, it tells me. Okay, well, they know that I'm in the space of search marketing. They probably know that I interact with a bunch of companies online. But setting up these ads and engaging with these is so incredibly effective at really dropping advertising in front of the people that are going to engage with it. I feel strongly that this is something that most companies should be engaging with. If you want to, I mean, that's a software tool, software as a service. I'm not going to scroll up and down my Facebook page because who knows what sort of nefarious things my friends are putting on. But let me see if I can find another sponsored post. One of the ways, one of the things you're doing is if you're doing posts for your business, and let me find one of my posts for my business, and we can take a look at this. This is Post Launch's Facebook page. Whenever a post happens, all I got to do is click Boost Post. It makes it so incredibly simple. If you have a credit card on file, it should be relatively, come on Facebook, try not to break on me this time. If you can see this right here, for $10, this estimates I'll reach between 1,600 and 4,300 people with this post. It's just $10. It's one time. Let's see what happens if we drop it in half. Between 820 and 2,200 people for me to boost this post for $5. Those are connected people. Those are people that really want to engage and see this stuff. So this is really, really pretty effective. You need to know who your audience is. If you're having a hard time figuring that out, Post Launch can help. You can give us a call. Our phone number is linked up in the bottom of this video, but it's 702-800-2131. You can ask for myself or Russ. Either of us will be able to sort of help you. But what this does is it really gives you an inexpensive way to bring eyeballs to what you've got going on. We're embracing it fully everywhere we can, and I'm going to recommend that most people start doing the same. All right. Russ, my friend, we are bumping into our timeline here. Is there anything specific that you were incredibly impressed with that happened in the wide world of web marketing today? Or this week?
There's something happening in the wide world of web marketing every day that I'm impressed with. Good. As Jeff knows, my background is banking. I had an illustrious career here in Southern Nevada in banking and particularly in marketing. But that's marketing banks is pretty unimaginative, and I managed to do that for about 25 years. And the whole idea, and we talk about this a lot, the whole idea, what made me successful in doing that was the fact that over the years I got to know a lot of people. And, that was kind of the world of the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. And now it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Right.
And that's what makes digital marketing and web presence marketing so powerful. And it's a great tool. It just literally turned that whole marketing model that I grew up with in my career. It turned it upside down and inverted itself, and subsequently we're able to reach so many more people with much more effective messaging.
Right.
And that to me is exciting, and I'm glad to be a part of that. And thanks to Jeff, I am a part of that. And I've seen success stories in my own business, and Cheryl's in my business, Let's Join Pause. And I'm a disciple because of that success. So I couldn't wait to do some other stuff with Jeff too, and be part of his group here and his team. And like I said, I'm excited every day.
Great. Well, Russ, I'm excited, and I really appreciate you coming by and chatting with us today. Russ and I are both available at postlaunch.co, Jeff at postlaunch.co, Russ at postlaunch.co if you want to talk to either of us about anything that we had going on or anything that we talked about today. Give us a call. Postlaunch.co. Whoa. We got some nice feedback. So anyway, let me see if I can end this feedback.